Good afternoon, this is Henry Keane at his daily wrap-up on UATV channel, doing our best to break out things in easy terms for the whole free world directly from Ukraine. Today, Russian jet artillery, probably Tornado S, did this in Zaporizhia. President Zelensky, being at that moment in the front line near Bakhmut, commented, I quote, Zaporizhia, right now a Russian missile in a multi-storied building. Russia is shelling the city with bestial savagery. Residential areas where ordinary people and children live are being fired at. The terrorist state seeks to destroy our cities, our state, our people. This must not become just another day in Ukraine or anywhere else in Europe or the world. The world needs greater unity and determination to defeat Russian terror faster and protect lives. As a result of shelling, 1 person died, 25 people were hospitalized, 3 people are in a serious condition, 19 in average, 3 are in a light condition. 2 of them are children. Before that, at night, Russia launched 21 kamikaze drones. Most of them were down, but 4 attacked the city of Rzhyshchkiv in Kiev region. At least 7 people were killed in a usual hostel. And this is more evidence for Russian crimes, and as any crime, it must not stay unpunished, as well as Russia's crime of aggression against Ukraine. All the atrocities we are witnessing today are a result of Russia's crime of aggression against Ukraine. We must address the root cause rather than just symptoms. We work closely together with other nations to set a relevant special tribunal. It will be able to prosecute Russia's top political and military leadership for this crime. We're grateful to the Netherlands for the decision to host the International Center for Criminal Prosecution of the Crime of Aggression against Ukraine in The Hague. Last year, Ukraine's Ministry of Foreign Affairs formed an international coalition of states to work together to establish the tribunal. This coalition, known as the Core Group, is tasked with defining the court's main legal parameters. Today, the Core Group holds its second meeting in Strasbourg. The coalition currently consists of 33 countries, and it is growing. We urge all states to join the Core Group and work together to ensure no impunity for the crime of aggression against Ukraine. Punishing Russia for its aggression against Ukraine is critical for maintaining international order. It is in the best interest of all peace-loving nations to send a message that aggression is a punishable offense so that no other aggressors are tempted to follow the Russia's footsteps. Frankly, we know exactly what it was in Zaporizhia. All Russian media was yelling it was revenge, a revenge for this.
An explosion in the town of Jankoy in the north of temporarily occupied Crimea has destroyed Caliber NK cruise missiles while they were being transported by railway. Caliber NK are missiles designed for launching from surface ships of the Russian Black Sea Fleet. The range of damage is more than 2,500 kilometers against land targets and 375 kilometers against sea targets. Mysterious cotton continues to persist of Russia's demilitarization and prepares the Ukrainian peninsula of Crimea for deoccupation. Glory to Ukraine. Defense intelligence of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine.
You may wonder, what cotton? I'll explain. Russian propaganda, initially refusing to use the word vzryv, explosion in English, used chlopok, a bang, instead. However, chlopok, if you use the stress to another syllable, also means cotton. And this has since become an Ukrainian meme. There are no more hard things to explain here. We are at war and are destroying Russian missiles being transported, and Russians, in an impotent rage, killing civilians deliberately by sending a missile into a living block in return. You know, in the light of Xi Jinping's visit to his close friend and partner, internationally wanted criminal Vladimir Putin, I want to quote someone from China. His name is Zhou Bo, who is a senior fellow of the Center for International Security and Strategy in Tsinghua University, for whatever that means. So the guy says, we need to stop the war. He says, literally, the West just worries about that China might supply weapons to Russia, even though there is no evidence to indicate it. He also agrees to Xi Jinping that China would maintain a good and sustainable relationship with Russia, and that these ties should not be tested and judged by any third party. This gentleman also expressed concern that the West's adamant support for Ukraine would prolong the conflict and push Russian President Vladimir Putin into the corner. Russia cannot be defeated, says Zhou Bo from China. People talk about defeating Russia, but Russia remains a large country with the largest nuclear arsenal, he says. I see Putin in a stalemate. He can't lose the war, so what will happen then? It's a miserable situation. I don't know whether Putin would use nuclear weapons, but I worry about this. So we should stop fighting for our lives. Because senior fellow of the Center of International Security in China, Mr. Zhou Bo, is worried. He's worried that a stalemated Putin will use nuclear weapons, so let's stop fighting. Let's give Putin what he wants. Let him shell Zaporizhia like this. Every day. I mean, let his soldiers rape our wives in Bucha. Let's forget those 16,000 Ukrainian children stolen from us. Forget tens of thousands of our men and women killed. Forget ruined Ukrainian cities. Forget Mariupol, because Mr. Bo in China and those who like him are worried. Give an outdated mad emperor what he wants, because he swings his rusted scepter and has nothing else to do but to burn the world in nuclear fire, because he is in a stalemate. You know what? Enough. We in Ukraine are not going to die, so only to make you not to worry or make your heating bills or petrol prices cheaper. And I hate to break it to you like this, but we know who is responsible for this war. Not only Vladimir Putin is to blame in this war and in today's brutal, treacherous attack on the living house in Zaporizhia. It is you, the great compromiser. All those Zhobos of China and Peters Schiartos of Hungary, and other compromisers around the globe who say the West should stop fueling the war, no matter if this is the war for the survival of the whole nation, for its freedom. You, the compromiser, are always to blame for all the most terrible things in this world. Under the cover of conciliation, you, international scoundrels from the security institutes of whatever, are the grooms of the horses of the horsemen of the apocalypse. You are so afraid that you are ready to give this international criminal, this Russian murderer, this Botox dwarf in high-heeled shoes, this tiny post-Soviet cheat emperor what he wants, because he can't get it himself and shells the living houses. And that's something you want to buy your peace of mind at. How long would you be able to pretend it is not us, Ukrainians? It is. It is our lives, our destinies, our families, our land. Damn you. I tell you this with all the responsibility and on behalf of the whole country and the spirits of those who died today in Zaporizhia murdered by Vladimir Putin. Damn you. If you were hoping that selling us to Putin will reduce your bills, well, listen with your Philistine ears to this. The State Duma of the Russian Federation, in order to compensate for the inability to sell gas to you, will raise tariffs on a domestic market fourfold. Do you understand? Putin could not defeat us, freeze us living our households without power by shelling our cities, power plants, schools and hospitals. And now he's ready to deprive his people of the future, send them to war. And while Russian men are fighting for his mad, crazy ideas, he raises heating tariffs for their families and all of his nation simply because this is not his nation. Dictators have no nations. They have a population, cannon fodder, breeding herd, tax cattle. This is exactly what Russian people are to Putin. Having received what he wants, he will understand only one thing. He succeeded, and he will rape Hungary, Moldova, Czech Republic, Poland, splitting it with China. He will restore the Soviet Union at your conciliatory expense. Until you listen to cowards, scum and pro-government idiots from the institutes of world slavery, who will always say only one thing: give the dictator more, more and more. Give him your future, your life, because he is the big dictator. He has the bomb. He will slaughter us all if we won't give him what he wants. But if we will, then he will slaughter only half of us. That is exactly the cattle thinking. Oh, we have a lot of problems in Ukraine, indeed. Corruption, the legacy of everything Soviet, oh, you name it. But we know both what we are and what we are not. We are the people, and we are not slaves. We will not tolerate living in slavery and giving away our lands and families. Never. As simple as that. And even more so, we would not demand anything like that from other peoples at war for their freedom, just as you are doing it now. Those who want freedom must fight for it. You win or die, just but you won't lose. You great compromisers keep talking about peace, getting your pieces from your master. Just bear in your worried minds, damn you, from Ukraine through Hungary and all the way to China. An unexpected visit to Kyiv to hold talks with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and see the crime scenes in Bucha. Zelensky described Kishida as a powerful defender of the international order and a longtime friend of Ukraine. Ukraine's first deputy foreign minister, Emine Zaporizhia, hailed the historic visit as a sign of strong cooperation between the two countries. Kishida offered solidarity and unwavering support to Ukraine during his visit. According to a statement released by Japan's foreign ministry, Kishida's visit is intended to show the respect for the courage and perseverance of the Ukrainian people standing up to defend their own homeland. During the visit, Kishida visited Bucha, a town near Kyiv where hundreds of bodies of civilians were found.
The world was awed to see innocent civilians in Bucha killed 1 year ago. I really feel anger at the atrocity about visiting every place here.
Japan is one of just 3 Asian countries to impose sanctions on Russia. South Korea and Singapore have also done so. Tokyo has, however, supplied Ukraine only with non-combat equipment, including reconnaissance drones and hazmat suits. Japan has joined Western allies in imposing sanctions on Russia for its invasion of Ukraine and has also offered support to Kyiv. The nation has also taken the unusual step of sending defensive equipment and offering refuge to those fleeing the conflict. However, due to the nation's post-war constitution limiting its military capacity to defensive measures, Japan has not provided military support. What this visit means, after all, for Ukraine and the world? Well, first of all, a lot coincided. First, Russia's sustained offensive in the eastern Donetsk region has intensified. The Ukrainian military said on March 21st, as Japan's Prime Minister met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kyiv in a show of support that coincided with Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to Moscow. I mean, if ever you needed a demonstration of how the war in Ukraine is echoing in Asia, the schedule of the Japanese and Chinese leaders offers a prime example. Both are on strategic foreign visits on opposing sides of the conflict. Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida is in Kyiv, where he is promising unwavering support to Ukraine's president with talk of reconstruction and humanitarian aid, while Xi Jinping's, meanwhile, is in Moscow and has been described by Putin as a friend and a partner. China, of course, may and will insist it is neutral, but it looks more Moscow-leaning than honest broker or mediator right now. On Tuesday, Mr. Xi said China would prioritize its ties with Russia and described the two countries as great neighboring powers, given events in Moscow. The optics and timing of Mr. Kishida's parallel trip are remarkable. To say the least, it is rare for a Japanese leader to make an unannounced foreign trip, and Mr. Kishida is the first to visit a country in conflict since World War II. However, breaking hard things in easy terms and saying the truth, Mr. Kishida has been under growing pressure to visit Ukraine from his own ruling Liberal Democratic Party. Well, until yesterday, he was the only G7 leader not to have visited Ukraine since Russia launched its invasion last year, and there had been calls for him to go before he presides over a G7 summit in Hiroshima in May. This is a Japanese samurai answer to Chinese actions in Russia. It was quite a visit with very strong results, and it is very nice. Forcibly nice, perhaps, but then again, at least not to Moscow. Tom arigato. NATO plans to strengthen and arm its eastern borders. This means the accumulation of equipment and troops that will be able to quickly help allies in case of need. Discussions are currently ongoing about how such an increase will take place. The alliance must agree on how the process will be organized, as it requires the accumulation of troops, equipment and ammunition. Currently, the issue of supplying ammunition to Ukraine and the accumulation of stocks by countries providing aid to the defense forces of Ukraine is a pressing issue. Due to this, there are fears that not all NATO members countries will fulfill their obligation in the new plans of alliance. Military leaders are due to submit updated regional defense plans in spring. The plan is to strengthen the eastern border with 300,000 soldiers. According to Heinrich Braus, a former NATO Assistant Secretary General for Defense, Policy and Force Planning, the first echelon, which could consist of about 100,000 soldiers ready to deploy within 10 days, could be formed from Poland, Norway and the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. It could also include multinational battle groups that the alliance has already established on its eastern flank. A second echelon of troops would support these soldiers, ready to deploy from countries like Germany within 10 to 30 days. But the process could prove difficult because such a rapid deployment, even within a month, requires a lot of people, equipment, training and lots of money. When NATO's military plans are ready, capitals will be asked to weigh in and ultimately provide troops, planes, ships and tanks for different parts of the plan. I think you would need forces to counter realistic Russia, one senior NATO military official said. Well, realistic Russia is a monstrosity with clay feet, but yes, you need something to cut clay with. He highlighted the need for significantly more troops and especially more forces at readiness. Ben Hodges, former commander of US Army Europe, commented.
An artillery battalion needs to shoot X number of rounds per year for planning purposes to maintain its level of proficiency. A tank battalion needs to hit targets, react to different situations and demonstrate proficiency on the move day and night, hitting targets that are moving. This obviously takes time and is also expensive. Ben Hodges, former commander of US Army Europe.
Decisions on strengthening NATO's readiness will come this summer when the leaders of the countries meet in Lithuania. Some allies have already acknowledged that meeting NATO needs will take far more investment. In 2014, NATO leaders pledged to aim to spend 2% of their economic output on defense within a decade. At the Vilnius summit in July, the leaders will have to decide on a new target. 2% as floor seems to be the center of gravity in the debate at the moment. One senior NATO official told journalists about this while cautioning that 2% would not be enough for everybody. A second issue is the contribution balance. Officials and experts expect the majority of high readiness troops to come from European allies. That means European capitals would need to step up as Washington contemplates how to address challenges from China. The response will show whether NATO is serious about matching its ambitions. One more little thing on the theme, if you allow. On Friday, March 17th, British and German fighter jets intercepted Russian planes flying near Estonian airspace. 2 Typhoon fighters intercepted a Russian military passenger aircraft, which has been escorted by 2 fighters and military transport aircraft. You know, I am from Latvia, originally. It's like less than 300 kilometers from Estonia, or 5 minutes if you own a fighter jet. So to tell the truth, these things happen there all the time. That means Russia won't stop until stopped. It was Henryki on UATV explaining hard things in easy terms for the whole free world directly from Ukraine. Stay safe and tune for more.